Alright, so this is just going to be a continuation from where we left off. I'm going to close everything down first because I actually have an advanced tutorial opened. And the reason why I'm going through this is I've been debating back and forth whether or not I should continue on with the advanced tutorials or change the basic HUD to an advanced tutorial, because I actually found a bug, and what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably just going to make supplemental tutorials to add on to the end, and that'll just cover anything that any bugs that kind of arise when we do the advanced tutorials. And this one I sort of saw before even doing the advanced tutorial, but we kind of avoided it. So I wasted about 30 minutes in the tutorial. Well, not 30 minutes, but 20 minutes, 15 minutes debugging it. So it might have been interesting to you to see me go through the debug process. But suffice it to say, I actually want you guys to have the fix. So we're probably going to make this supplemental, which means I'm going to grab a tutorial 5, paste that on my desktop, and I'm going to rename it to tutorial 6. And we're just going to continue from there, and I'm going to show you what needed to, what actually changed. And what I might just do is every time I get a supplemental bug fix, I might add it on to tutorial 6 and just append the video to the end of what it currently is, which may not work out very well for you if you have no idea that I did that, but will if you're looking at it in the future, so you don't have to go through a bunch of these tutorials. That was me wasting tons and tons of time. So back to the topic at hand. What are we going to do? I'm going to open up the game FLA, and I'm also going to open up the engine itself. And I'm just going to run through what went horribly, horribly wrong. And this was generally a good idea, and I have sort of seen this before, where the on-exit frame, which is a really cool event to kind of trap, gets messed up when you modify things like go to and stops and go to and plays in different clips, and which means that our on-exit frame doesn't actually fire, not correctly. So our press keys, like any key that just fires once, and if we go into our player, what actually messed up for us was our space button, because we used the is key down, and is key down requires the update loop to fire in a very specific process. Our on-exit frame has to fire has to do this process, has to process all this code. Set all the old keys and the new keys in between frames, and that wasn't happening. That was happening too late, and it was like skipping some of the process. It was like happening twice, or it was trying to do some sort of catch-up mechanic, and it wasn't allowing us to fire this is key down. It actually just killed it. I think what essentially happened was it went too quickly, or before the frame actually properly exited. And suffice it to say that we weren't getting our is key down event, which means we couldn't jump, and I couldn't figure out why, and then we just kind of traced it back. So what I did to fix it was static public function update keys. This allows us to actually control, it's also a type of void, control when this happens. And all we got to do is put this in there, and if we wanted to, so just backward compatibility, I'm going to leave this in. So on exit frame, if you wanted to leave it in, we'll fire it here, and so you can use one way or the other, depending on how you want to do it. You can't use them both in conjunction, though, so so that takes us to, well, how do we get it to actually call? If we're not calling an event listener, how do we fire it? So you have to go into our level script. Our level script is where we want to be when I can find where I put it. I'm a little out of it today, so sort of my last day here, I want to get as much, at least before I go on vacations, I want to get as much done that can be useful for you before I leave. And as such, Even though I'm not really on the top of it, I'm going to see what we can get done. You guys might find useful. So we're going to say that this is what happens when the key is down. Right at the end, after we're done all our processing, we know that we're done touching, handling any game object logic. We can actually just say key dot update keys, and that'll force it right at the end of our loop to update all our keys. Now this also has the same sort of bearing in the input, because the input works the same way. And I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna do static public function update input. And I'm also a little distracted today. So if I veer off and start being super quiet, it's probably because I'm thinking about something else. So update input just calls the... No, I don't want to do that. We're going to say vice versa. There we go. OnExeFrame calls the update input. Why not make it backward compatible? It really doesn't cost much, so I don't care. Input enter dot update input. Great. Wow. I'm noticing new things in Flash Develop, which is kind of fun. Always learn new things, see new things too. Great fun, actually. So update input, key, update keys. Great. So this all happens here. And so when we run it, it should run essentially the same. This was the only thing I think I really noticed, which is the last thing we're going to kind of leave it at. Everything else just kind of works the same. Yep. And cheers. Anything else I find, I'll try to append it to the end of this. One last thing that I noticed, because this is going to be one of the things that we're going to be using all the time as one of our base classes. What I do want to do is I want to go into the player class and turn off all redundant traces, so we don't get, sidelined by it. So actually, no, I already turned that off. There is probably, I think, one more trace that was fairly annoying, like a distance trace. I don't know where that's coming from, so I should probably turn that off. And maybe the trace for when an item is removed as well. So I'm going to theoretically just turn off most of our traces. I'm going to find it, so that's Control I. It's either Control I or Control I, yeah. I'm just going to search for trace everywhere in my documents, and it should return whatever it finds. Did it find anything? Find. Did it fail? Oh, well, it did find a couple. So here's the distance one. It's in bullet, I would have thought. That was because we weren't really sure it was working right. And where's the last one? Right, so the other ones, we got two in game object. I think one's over here, and maybe it's an enemy? I thought there was one more trace somewhere. Why did I think that? I don't know. Oh, it's because every time I shot a bullet, it spawned a new one. Great. Fair enough. And so if we killed something, we shot a bullet, we could see an updated list. But now it's relatively clean, no traces, and this is a good end state to kind of be at.